Hopefully, he has a raincoat, comfortable, not bulky.
Oh yeah, he layers up for sure.
All right, we should be live.
Okay.
Okay, let's see.
Hey, hello, Facebook. Oh,
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I see we are live. If you could post the Zoom link there on the comments. So, today is our first day of our three-part series. So, 2 weeks, 2 weekends ago, we had the first series, which was about understanding trauma. And if you missed those, you could watch those through our Facebook page, the Healers Roundtable for the meetup group. And that, if you look in the discussions or even on the events, there should be the link to be able to connect to the Facebook page so you could watch the previous ones. And then last weekend, we had steps on healing trauma. So we gave some tips and tools and a challenge. We started a 22-day challenge. That was a mouth twister there for me for a minute. So it's a 22-day challenge on finding self-love and awareness. And that is through one of our guest speakers, Joanna Trail Love. And she just published her book on 22 days. And so what it is, it's a 22 days where you do an exercise every day. And if you wish to join that, you still can. You would have to go through her page to catch up on the daily exercises. And that is I Am Love through Facebook page. I Am Love without the E. So I lowercase I and all together am love, LOV, and that's the page. And so you could also find that information on through Meetup on the events for February, because that challenge will be ending on the weekend of Valentine's, and we'll be doing a series that weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on process and mastering self-love. So that's when that 22-day challenge ends. So you're welcome to still join in, catch up by viewing the challenges, the daily exercises. They're really good. I highly recommend them. I've been following along. We are on day 7. Today's day 8 of the challenge. So I've been writing a lot of good notes for myself. I highly suggest it. And then today we are starting with how trauma affects you. And today we're going to talk about how trauma affects you physically. Tomorrow will be mentally and Sunday emotionally. Okay. So with that, here's the schedule. Again, we are doing our introduction right now. I'm going to walk you through a short meditation, and then I'll be introducing our guest speaker, which will be speaking from 8:15 to 8:45. And then from 8:45 is when we'll start doing a little conclusion, then transition out of Facebook Live to a more of a private Zoom. So there you could, the rest of the hour, we do a lot of discussion, questions, answering those questions, or even giving any tips or tools that you are seeking at the moment. So that is our schedule. Again, I am Rebecca and my husband is.
JB Atkins. We are holistic wellness consultants, and also known as the Muscle Whisperer. As you can see, contact us there at jbr@dualdragons.com. Research our website at dualdragons.com, and then there's our phone number. And talking about, just to get the ball rolling, how, say, from a physical standpoint, trauma is not always about depression or sadness or tripping and just holding on to something. It affects you to a physical level. And just kind of being vulnerable with you guys this morning, my wife was triggered, which then I just fed off of it, and to a point where I was not hungry to want to eat breakfast before us getting on live. So, and we're going to explore more of that. And then, of course, our wonderful guest, Teresa, will kind of expand on her tips and tricks of how to kind of process on a physical compassion level and whatever else she has to share.
And so let's do our quick little meditation now. So wherever you're at, just sit nicely, Feet flat on the floor. Shoulders relax. If you're on a chair, if you have a way to just lay your arms on the armrest, or just lay your arms on your lap. Just relax your shoulders, relax your body. I want you to take 3 deep belly breaths. Remember, if you're not sure how to do the belly breath, you could place a hand on your heart and your other hand on your belly. And remember, the only hand that should be moving up and down is the one on your belly, not the one on your chest.
So I apologize for the technical difficulties. Our internet just shut off. One moment. Guess we had the rollout internet shut down also. All right. Rebecca should be on here shortly. She's just getting reconnected. Trade places.
Okay, sorry about that. Seems like we lost internet connection. So where were we at? We were doing a body scan. Excuse me? Oh, okay. So I was already going up the spine. We didn't realize what had happened. Okay, so again, let's just do a quick meditation. Let's take some 3 deep breaths. So now from here, wiggle your toes. Take some mental notes of what you're feeling, what you're seeing, and what you're hearing. From your toes, go up to your ankles. From your ankles up to your knees. From your knees to your hips. Again, stop and reflect and see how does it all feel? Did you see any visions? Did you hear anything? Any messages? And from your hip, now we're going to start right at the tailbone. And we're going to slowly go up each vertebrae up the spine. And as you're climbing up slowly up your spine, just get a feel of your back. How does it feel? Once you get to the base of your neck, we're going to go out to the shoulders, down to your elbow, down to your wrist, down to your fingertips. Again, stop and reflect. How does that feel? Take some mental notes. And then from there, we're going to go back up to the wrist, up the elbow, up the shoulders, up to the base of the neck. And now we're going to go vertebrae through vertebrae up your neck. Get a sensation of your neck. Feel it, see it, hear it. To the base of your skull. And from the base of the skull, you're going to come out to the jawline. And then from the tip of your chin, you're going to go back up the skull. Take a couple of deep breaths again. And just, again, make some mental notes, or if you have some paper and pen, go ahead and write down anything that you picked up from your body. And then just let those areas know, thank you, body, for the awareness. Thank you. I will make sure to take care of you when I have an opportunity. And we're going to take care of each other with ease and joy. Now slowly come back.
Thank you. So everyone, how does that feel? We're going to start introducing our guest speaker in a moment. As soon as my lovely wife can get off mute because she has the slides.
I don't. There we go. Can everyone hear me? Okay, perfect. So our guest speaker for today is Teresa Ramirez Petroni. She's the owner of Rooted Holistic Body Work. And she does body or energy work. She's a body energy work therapist. She's also a Reiki master, practitioner, holistic health and anatomy nerd, CMT, HHP. And there you could see her link. She's located down in San Diego. So even though she's located down in San Diego and you're far away, she's a good person to reach to for distant Reiki healing, if you wish. She does the distant Reiki healing, which is really beneficial. I highly recommend it. And so I'm just going to go ahead and pass the mic for you. I'm going to stop sharing because I think you have some things to share. There we go.
Hello, yes I do, thank you. Okay, so, sorry, what do I click on my end again? I need to get the hang of Zoom. Do I do share screen, is that right? Okay. Perfect, are you seeing it? Okay, here we go, perfect, share. Okay, I think, am I good, JB? Yeah, guys? Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm gonna minimize this. Let's get the slideshow going. Still not Zoom savvy. You would think 1 year into a pandemic, it would be. All right, here we go. Okay, so hi. Like they said, Teresa Ramirez Petroni, nice to meet you all. If you tuned in for the spiritual healing summit, I spoke there as well too. Super honored that JB and Rebecca asked me to speak in the trauma series. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and it is actually my life's work. So this is going to be, again, healing trauma, physical, mental, and emotional impact. Today, I will be speaking more of the physical. As a body worker, this is something I work with every day. You know, the way I've been able to incorporate Reiki and massage has been pretty magical, of being able to help my clients have those emotional releases in areas they didn't realize they were holding on to pain and trauma. So, and this is some beautiful artwork. I really feel like it encapsulates what it feels like to be processing trauma. All right, some more beautiful artwork. Trigger warning. Hi, you just signed up to listen and talk about trauma. Just the act of listening to trauma and education of trauma can very much trigger your own trauma or traumas. So I want you to know you're in a safe space container, and I appreciate you holding one for me, as well as I will be speaking about some of my traumas as they inspired me to enter the holistic healing world, specifically starting with body work. So please take care of you. If that means, if anything I say today triggers you, anything we talk about triggers you, please fully feel supported. Like, you know, you can take yourself off video, and if you even need to log off the presentation completely, you're fully supported to do that, as this will be posted on the Facebook. And thank you for really holding this sacred space for me to share my experiences with trauma, and honestly, the positive impact that came with studying the energetic and physical components when it comes to trauma and how it's stored in the physical body. And I also want to highlight too, because I've had met people, oh, well, you know, I had a pretty good life. I don't feel like I had any trauma. Guess what? If you are a human that is alive and breathing in 2021, you're experiencing trauma. The pandemic, COVID-19, many of the things that have been happening in this country, global, it's been trauma. It's been very traumatic to our nervous systems and our immune systems. And that's where I'm so grateful for the Healers Roundtable and all the ways that JB and Rebecca are showing up to speak about these bigger concepts and give us the tools that we need to really move through and work through this heavier energy we're in. All right, so physical, body, and trauma. So to the left, you're going to see a pretty cool diagram. It kind of shows the fear and mobility cycle, which is essentially the trauma cycle. So it's not just an event, it's also the imprint and the rewiring of our mind, of the brain and body. So when we experience trauma, it actually sets into motion a nervous system that's unable to regulate itself, leading to maladaptive coping mechanisms. So like to soothe our nervous system, the automatic nervous system. So for me, how this showed up in my life, and again, trigger warning, holding space for you. Thank you for holding space for me. I was sexually abused at the age of 3. And then I had an alcoholic father who had to leave the house. So I had an absent father figure. Years later, I had a Marine family, born and raised stepfather who came into our family as well. And there was a lot of trauma there around Marine military-like communication for an 8-year-old abused, traumatized girl. So for me, the fact that set into motion this trauma cycle where my nervous system became afraid. It became fearful of my environment, everything around me. So in my earlier years, maladaptive coping mechanism is something unhealthy that we do to try to cope and to soothe our nervous system, because that's what's happening in the physical body. anything we do that's maybe maladaptive, not good, right? To soothe good things, high energy work, doing the work, using our tools, it's to soothe our nervous system. It's to take our fight or flight system and get it into a relaxed state again, which is the goal anytime of our nervous system. We're in fight or flight, which trauma in the physical body does to you. So for me, that showed up as perfectionism. Once I realized if I studied enough, I could get really good grades, I became addicted to getting good grades. For me, it felt like it was the one thing in my life as an 11-year-old rage against the machine, I'm pissed at everything, anger, rage, little girl, you know? So once I realized I could study my butt off and get really good grades, it just became this addiction. And it took me into severe panic, severe anxiety disorder through high school, when finally I realized, okay, I can't do this anymore. So I let up a little bit. I'm still a bit of a student nerd perfectionist, but not how I was as a teenager into my 20s, because again, I still had all of this trauma in my physical body stored and didn't know what to do with it. That's when I took to party lifestyle of drugs and alcohol. So again, maladaptive, right? So for the real change to occur, our nervous systems need to learn how to co-regulate. That's where we go from maladaptive, Teresa, 29 years old, life blows up in San Francisco, California. I can't live like this anymore. And that's when I was gifted a Reiki session. That's when a friend said, you know, I want you to go check out this Reiki. And 4 sessions, and 5 years later, I'm deep into the world of trauma and holistic healing, and I wouldn't change anything. So for that co-regulation, I wanted to bring up polyvagal theory. I'm going to very briefly skim over this. I am not a somatic experiencing coach. I am a student of somatic experiencing. So I'm going to briefly touch on this. And if it's something that interests you, I highly recommend checking Stephen Porges and Deb Dana out. The polyvagal theory has been, I mean, he's a rock star in the trauma world. His work that he's done on the vagus nerve has been so profound in how we're able to move forward with not just talking about trauma, but in your body, somatically experiencing and releasing and discharging that energy. So essentially it's the vagus nerve, but it's the branch, the dorsal vagal, working from the bottom up to heal trauma. So that's always been interesting for me within body work, because in Reiki, we work from the head down. And it's interesting, as I started studying and I'm starting to learn about the polyvagal theory, I intuitively always thought it was weird in massage school that we learned to start at the back. For me, in my head, and once I learned myofascial release and the concept of myofascial meridians, which is fascia, the skin, that it's the connective tissue that connects all of our muscles, I always thought, well, that's weird. I should start at the feet and then work my way up. So to be learning and diving deeper into the world of trauma and trauma-informed care, it's been neat to see how my intuition has just always guided me correctly. So this concept of the dorsal vagal, which is the bottom of the branch, working its way up to your brain, this is that breakthrough approach of how to heal trauma with somatic experiencing. So I said here, Porges expanded existing knowledge on the vagus nerve and its role through the branches, and it's regulating the heart, face, abdominal, viscera, and breath. So really this is, I mean, Stephen Porges, pranayama, yoga, he is a rock star in the yoga world. So again, a little bit going back to the diagram you see here, it's that fear immobility cycle. So a trauma, any type of abuse, you're being held against your will. That's that immobility, arousal activation. I'm scared, fight or flight, unsuccessful escape. That an unsuccessful escape, that is where the nervous system completely becomes rewired. Because when we're not able to successfully complete the trauma cycle in our nervous systems, it completely rewires us. It shows us that, okay, that's scary. So when anything like that, high triggers, being triggered, I go instantly into fight or flight, and then I have to figure out how to soothe myself. So that's once the unsuccessful escape happens, that's that experience of fear and helplessness. And it just becomes this re-triggered trauma cycle. And that's our goal in the holistic healing world and body work, anyone that has hands on a body, they're working with trauma in one way or another. And I'm really excited that trauma-informed care is even being talked about in 2021. And I just can't wait to see the forward movement, because as someone who's been in talk therapy most of my life, once I came into bodywork and bodywork school, massage school, holistic healing, I was like, this is what I've been missing. I've been missing someone being able to tell me, yeah, that's why you feel this, and here's how you can work through it. So truly, like, my heart is on fire for this work. And that is how I'm moving forward in my studies and my holistic healing practice. So this is a picture of a book that changed my life. I'm a huge book nerd, and I'm gonna be sharing a slide with so many books on trauma if you want to read about it. Anatomy of the Spirit. When Caroline Myss said your biography becomes your biology, so many tears. I absolutely loved that chapter because I believe it. So storing trauma at a cellular level. As the story of our life unfolds, the traumas we experience are stored in our living tissues. So the thoughts generated by these traumas into our system first as energy, which if you were in the spiritual summit, we talked all about consciousness and how thought form structure. I highly recommend you check out that talk that I gave. I have a slideshow for that. But thoughts are energy, right? It's a kind of the toxic positivity. Hopefully that died in 2020. Your vibe attracts your tribe, good vibes only. But it's that concept, that thoughts generated by these traumas enter our system as energy. And that carries a biological response, which imprints on a cellular level. I also wanted to bring up intersectionality in trauma. I'm very happy that this word is a thing, and that we're going to be moving forward and seeing more populations of more humans and diversity within the trauma field. So intersectionality is the social, personal, and often political context where we experience trauma. Just want to let that set in. We have to hold space for this intersectional concept. I experienced trauma, yes, but I experienced it in a different way. Someone experienced trauma just by waking up and having a certain color of their skin. Certain people experience trauma just because of the gender or the sexuality that they claim. So really, when we are able to take a step back from trauma and understanding trauma in the physical body and put it into a intersectional lens, we're able to hold bigger space. We're able to be better practitioners. So really, really highly recommend reading and studying up on intersectionality as anyone that's in a service provider in 2021. It's a part of our work that we need to do to be more inclusive and more accessible to more populations. All right, so I know this is more mental emotional, but I couldn't not talk about it, but it does tie into physical. So trauma and energetic body. So energy anatomy and healing the trauma. So when we understand the anatomy and developmental stages of the chakra system. So I know I'm touching a bit on the mental emotional, but there is that physical element. So the psychology of the chakras, understanding the ages a chakra forms and applying developmental psychology like that of Erik Erikson, Piaget, Maslow, it helps you to understand how and why our energy systems become off balance as we experience trauma for a young age in adulthood. So a little bit on that, that's what really was my aha moment that sparked my spiritual healing journey. When I was 29, I was in a bookstore in San Francisco in the metaphysical section and had a friend who's like, hey, here's a book on chakras, you should read it. I'm like, okay, so I bought it. And as I started reading the first chapter, which we all know, any chakra book is going to be your root chakra. When they talked about the physical ailments of the root chakra, I think I had one of my most painful soul cries ever, because it told me the years that the root chakra is formed, 0 to 3. And it talked about things that happen, abuses that can happen. Hi, checked all of those boxes. And then it talked about all the physical ailments. And I had every single one. And I was sick. The doctors didn't know what to do with me. They had me on antibiotics every other month. I was in physical pain, my anxiety, I was depressed, check every box here for root chakra. So that's when I was like, okay, there's something here. So that's where I'm extremely passionate about connecting the chakra energy center with the muscles that are attached to that area. So that's why I brought this in here. And that's my life's work. And that's what I do in my massage sessions. I help my clients connect their energy centers and the physical muscles and organs that are associated with those. So that way they can kind of, I don't know why my neck locked up. Yeah, I was yelling at my husband and I was like, you were yelling at your husband. Fear, your neck, your shoulders, the heart chakra, fear, uncertainty, anger, rage. When we can connect the dots of our emotional states and the things happening in our environment with our physical body, that's where the really deep, juicy healing happens, in my opinion. Light, shadow side of the chakras. So again, that yin yang concept, each chakra, light and dark, right? So that shadow, so for instance, the example of the heart chakra, when it's balanced, it's love. Everyone knows love, rose quartz, heart chakra, love. But when it's not balanced and it's more in that shadow side, it's in a state of grief. So it's really that concept when we are only in the shadow, and we're not evolving, that's when the physical manifestations happen in our body. That's when shoulders can start hurting. That's when we can start cowering, you know, that's when our physical body starts to armor and guard itself, you know. So learning the shadow side of the chakras allows us to understand how our traumas can manifest from the inside out. Again, as within, so without, you know. Yin yang body theory and trauma. In traditional Chinese medicine, so if any of you have had acupressure massage, acupuncture, they are going to talk about, oh, okay, yeah, this happened. So liver, you know, and they'll tell you the emotions associated with the liver. That's what I love about traditional Chinese medicine, is they're able to really speak to those things. But specifically, I really vibe and work with the yin yang body theory, and I use that within trauma. So yin yang within traditional Chinese medicine, right side, yang, masculine, that doing energy. Left is that feminine, that more flowy, that receiving energy. So for me, it really was an aha moment when I started learning about this in body work in massage school, because as I started to take a step back, well, okay, right side is masculine. Every single injury that I have ever had, and I had shoulder surgery on my right side, I've broken my wrist, everything that's happened to me has been my right side, which is that masculine trauma I've been holding on to. So that was a pretty big aha moment. And when I turn my clients onto this concept, it's really cool to see the light bulbs go on for them and hold that space for them. So that's a little bit about the yin yang and how I view it within trauma and how I'm able to connect the dots with my clients. This is a quote that came to me as I'm currently working with a somatic experience coach and therapist, and I cried my little eyes out. Trauma is not what happens to us, but what we hold inside in the absence of an empathetic witness. Peter Levine. And Peter Levine, you're going to see in a few slides books, he is also a rock star. He's actually the person who coined somatic experiencing and created an entire world of new trauma healing. Of that takes talk therapy to the next level because it puts you in the physical body. So these are a couple of books, but just wanted to like really touch on that concept. It's what we hold inside. So our physical traumas, when we don't have that empathetic witness, and a big thing is a lot of times we think, oh, okay, well, I have a family member, I have this. A lot of times they can't be our witness, because think about it. For me in my life, of course, my family members couldn't be my witness. You know, it happened within my family, my abuse, and they had their own experience of the trauma and what it felt like for them and the guilt and the shame they carried. So how can they be an empathetic witness when they're in their own trauma? So it's really releasing who that witness is and just looking for that witness, whether that's in a friend, that's in a partner, a holistic healer, a practitioner, but just really, really understanding it's okay. It's okay if they can't be that witness for you, but you need a witness. And sometimes it has to be yourself. I have a girlfriend that's doing her own healing work, and she's quarantined and she doesn't have, and so she literally has her, and she's like, I have to be my witness, and that's okay. And that's been a very empowering mantra for her this month. So the next slide I'll be sharing is all of the amazing books. I mean, there are so many books in the trauma world, but these are a few that have really influenced my holistic healing practice and my own healing of my traumas as well too. Eastern Body, Western Mind is, I think, in my opinion, should be on everyone's bookshelf if you are in the holistic healing world. Anodea Judas approach to she's actually the psychology of the chakras that I studied with. Yes, but The Body Keeps the Score. This is a very, very dense read. It's actually written by a huge rock star doctor within the trauma world. So he's actually he's a psychotherapist. So he's a medical doctor. So like a lot of it is going to be very, very high level, but it's a really awesome book in understanding the science of our brain and what's happening with our nervous system. You have The Secret Language of Your Body, which goes hand in hand with You Can Heal Your Life. I personally have been vibing and working more with The Secret Language of Your Body. I like the exercises she gives you in real time. Like I know Rebecca took us through a body scan meditation. She does a lot of that. So that's, but again, very similar to You Can Heal Your Life, because it's giving you, okay, your neck, fear, anger, rage, but then she gives you an actual exercise on how to release and discharge that energy. But You Can Heal Your Life has been a benchmark book of connecting our emotions to our physical body. Healing, so on the far right-hand side, you're going to see Peter Levine, Healing Trauma and Waking the Tiger. Again, he is, when you type in trauma, he will be one of the first people to come up, as Peter Levine has been an absolute game changer within the trauma healing. And then I put here My Grandmother's Hands. So this is trauma within the lens of intersectionality. So this is a great author to be studying that under. So this is my favorite quote. I shared it in the last time I hung out with you guys. Shadow work is the path of the heart warrior. Carl Jung, another rock star in my opinion. So working with and through our past traumas will be some of the most challenging but rewarding work you will do for the rest of your life. It's my mission. If I get to hang out with one person and they know they're not alone, like that's my mission in life. Doing your healing work, doing your trauma work, it can feel lonely. It can feel dark, but knowing that you have someone, that's really important. So that's that concept of that empathetic witness. And again, it's okay if it's not our family member, but just finding someone to hold that space for you. And again, explore your toolbox. Holistic Healing Arts has a myriad of healing tools, modalities, practitioners. I think that's one of my favorite things, but it can definitely be information overload. My biggest thing I'm embodying this year is simple is sustainable. So encourage yourself, explore different tools, explore different modalities, read different books, but really kind of feel into the different practices and see what's sustainable for you. You know, I was coaching one of my Reiki clients the other day who's studying Reiki, and she was, by the time I get to my sacral chakra, I'm just so tired. I'm like, okay, what's your treatment? She was doing like 40-minute treatments on herself. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's okay. You're able just to, if it's 5 minutes, it's 10 minutes, like really, I'm really exhausted of this. Here's how your morning routine should look. It's have a connection, you know, reclaim that sacredness with your practices. What feels good, what doesn't, what feels sustainable, what doesn't. So just really empower yourself with, put down your phone, shut down Instagram and Facebook, whatever, like tune in, you know, you are your own healer, your own guru, like, you know what your body needs. And again, I wish I knew who wrote this quote. When you heal your life, you heal the world. Be that ripple, be the change that you want to see in the world. Healing your trauma, doing your shadow work, that is paving the path for someone else. That's showing someone else they can do it and that they're not alone because you've done it as well too. So I know this is a little bit more of a basic. I love trauma, so please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you again for holding this space for me to talk about this topic. It's very near and dear to my heart, and I'm diving into the world of somatic experiencing and trauma healing, being a trauma-informed body worker. So it just feels like a really, really aligned path for me as I've been working through my heavier traumas for the last 4 years. So whether that's sending them an email, text me, DM me, like I'm a neuropsych nerd, like read all the books. I would love to hang out with you all. Thank you so much again for having me. And I look forward to opening up to Q&A. Okay, let's see if I can do a stop share. There we go.
You were just flying. You did it.
Oh no, I know. Was I too fast? Sorry guys. And I had coffee this morning. Sorry if I was too fast. It's gonna get posted though, and I can share my slideshow as well too. I'm so bad. I need to remind myself to not have coffee before these things. Anyway.
So let me go here. So just a quick conclusion, you know, just like what we were talking about, you know, the more we become aware of what is going on with us physically, emotionally, mentally, the more we become aware is the easier it is to break it down. So the whole point of these courses is teaching you that awareness and knowing how to break it down in the most simplest form. Like Teresa said, you know, just trying things out, but seeing what really works for you. And just the awareness, it has to be a number one. Your little red flags or whatever pops up, be very in tune with your body to listen to what's going on in the body, emotionally, mentally, all those aspects. And then from there, once you're aware of it, interview it. Ask that, you know, I do a lot of work with bringing up your child. And the reason I do that is I ask our clients, think of the last time you were happy, nothing was bad, nothing was wrong in your life, like you were just this happy child. Let's go back to that child. And let's interview that child and ask that child, what was it that had you so happy? What were the things that would make you happy? What are the things that did not happen before then that had you in that state of happiness, positivity, nothing could go wrong? And then let's see if she or he can give you the advice you need now to be able to go back to that time. And so this interviewing that inner child helps you get that breakthrough, especially a breakthrough of remembering. Sometimes a lot of our traumas trigger past traumas that have already occurred, or even that they don't have to be necessarily traumas. Is the first time you felt a strong emotion, just that alone, the first time you felt shame, the first time you felt guilt, the first time you ever felt sadness or mad. Those, they it's a scoreboard. So whenever you come across the same situation or something similar, it always takes us back to that first time. Because like what we said before, the body has no concept of time. The minute you feel that emotion, it's back to that moment. It's going straight back to that moment. So not only are you living a new trauma, but now let's just bring up all those old ones, like a file cabinet. It just pulls out and there's all your files. So learning to get a breakthrough to understand every time you go back to that emotion, oh, I'm going back to this moment. It's triggering me. I remember interviewing myself. Okay, these are the steps I need to get the breakthrough to get me out of this and get me back on track. And learning to forgive yourself. Like I said, forgiveness is about forgiving yourself for holding on tight to what was not serving you. That's your only mistake when it comes to trauma, is that you hold on to it thinking it's servicing you in one way or the other. And the whole point is to release it, forgive yourself for doing that, releasing it. So then that way you get your awakening of, now I understand how to move on from this. And from there, learning to integrate it when it comes to finding self-love. You know, and this is one thing I'm trying to teach my daughter. No one in life is going to make you as happy as yourself. And I think sometimes we are raised to believe that finding our happiness is always exterior. Go and search for your happiness, they tell you. Have the perfect job, that will be your happiness. But we know of people that have really great jobs and they're not happy. You know, we know of people that have a lot of money and they're not happy. It's not really about what makes you happy, it's about how you make yourself happy. And that's what I mean about really integrating with yourself and finding that self-love. So again, I just want to emphasize these phone numbers. If you are going through anything at the moment that needs urgent attention, these are the phone numbers for the mental health hotline, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, the National Suicide Prevention, and the National Sexual Assault Hotline. So I'm going to leave that there for a moment. But I just really want to emphasize a lot of the things that Teresa said, they're so true, especially the one where we start at the feet. I was never the one to start at the back either. I remember in massage school, they would always teach us all start with the back to soothe your client. And I'm thinking in my head, like, that makes no sense at all. But like Teresa said, we're just so in tune that we didn't realize until we start seeing all the books and the research. And it's like, oh, now I understand why I always start at the feet. I always start at the feet. All the time, we start at the feet. The feet tell you so much. When I work on a client and I look at their feet, I could see where the feet there's some trauma already, the ankle's twisting, or I could see where, when I'm touching it, I could see where they step the heaviest. It's not a nice step. It's like this heavy side. And that tells me a lot too, depending if they're stepping heavy on the right or in inside, what is going on with them. I could kind of like connect the dots like a ping pong going through the body. It's like boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden you see the pattern. But at the same time, you could really pick up on the motions because like what she was saying, we hold all that in the muscle tissue, in the tissue and the myofascia. Everything is held within our body. You know, I just recently saw a documentary on Netflix, and all the people that had gone through that severe trauma from that one person that he caused this horrible things to all these people, and the ones that survived it, you could see the trauma in their there was one that was really impactful, her jaw. You could see all this trauma just being held in her jaw. And that really got to me because it was like, it's just being able to see it in that physical form when there's been that much trauma to that body. It's really hard to see. Even as a therapist, even as prepared I am and educated I am, whenever I come across a body that's been severely traumatized, it's hard. It is the hardest thing to be able to touch. I'm in pain because I am an empath, and I have to I have to force myself to disconnect a lot because, you know, it's not a good idea to attach. It's not a good idea to continue feeling all that because then you get submerged in it, and you don't want that. I want to be good with myself so that way I could help my client. If I fall apart, I'm no good to our client.
That's what I love mostly how we start working together. I kind of was taught the same philosophy about starting from the feet, or there's no really good or right or wrong, but I chose to start at the head or the neck. I was trained that usually the neck being the most vulnerable part of anyone's body, if something loud happens or you heard something, we naturally kind of got to protect the neck. So I started mostly working the head and neck, just kind of build that comfort and trust with my clients. And then when I teamed up with my wife, her starting at the feet, she's been teaching me and kind of pushing me, all right, you start at the feet. So I'm developing my skills to start at the feet, to read the body from that perspective and not worry about building the trust in the neck. They already trust us. They're laying on our table or having us do them. So it's like me kind of breaking out my own old trauma. I got to keep the same pathway, but learning to be flexible at the same time to read that. And definitely just seeing, like she was talking about, I was watching the documentary, you know, for us who are in tune with the body, whether it's a spiritual conception or just a physical anatomy, you can see the tension in the neck or the jaw, eerie in the forehead. And of course, throughout the body, there's different signs of rolled shoulders and stuff like that that we kind of resort to. And kind of re-emphasizing what we share, the 4-step process that we do, which is the awareness, integration, or forgiveness, integration. I like to use the metaphor of the map. So imagine your body as a physical map. My map is not the same as your map, not the same as my wife's map. So we use a guideline like the wonderful sources that Teresa shared, kind of like Louise Hay's Healing Your Body A to Z. We kind of use it as a reference, but it's not specifically exactly the same across the board. If you guys study maps, there's 3 different norths: truth north, magnetic north, and the map north. And the combination of those 3, you'll get to the north, depending on how you want to travel. So we use the body in the physical sense to help you erase those titles, erase those labels of what everyone says. Oh, if you have this neck pain, is this. Oh, if you have the shoulder pain, is that. Oh, if you have this hip pain, is that. Or if you feel this emotion there. No. Yes, aware, but we want you to write your ledger, what those means to you, so that you be aware and we guide you through that process so that you may hopefully find relief and find the equilibrium balance that Teresa talked about, calming the nerve and allowing your physical body to become what will be the healthiest posture or neutral state for you to move forward.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that you brought up the three different level, like the three different true norths. To me, I heard mind, body, soul in that, you know, like what's your physical body's north, what's emotional, what's that mental. And I love what you were saying, Rebecca, about the physical body. That's when I became a believer in massage school. You know, I was studying, okay, I did 1 year of a 1,000-hour program. And I remember when we were learning about doing some of the inner stomach work, which is your psoas muscle and the iliacus, the muscles that line the pelvic bowl. And when you're in massage school, guys, just FYI, you're not being do no harm. You're just like fishing around for muscles. You're just trying to find it. You're learning. Well, the teacher didn't. I feel like there could have been more. And I feel like in massage school there can be more of a trauma informed approach. Well, my partner, who had very strong hands, just went right into my psoas, and I had to shoot up. And thank goodness the bathroom was in the classroom. I had to run to the bathroom and I started throwing up immediately. And then I started crying. And thank goodness my teacher, we had a very good relationship. I just opened the door and he looked at me. He's like, "Who touched you?" I'm like, and just, you know, we hugged each other. But that's when I became a real believer of like, holy crap, this is real. You know, there's certain hot spots of the body, like JB was talking about, neck and shoulders. What do? Our first interaction is to activate those scalenes, to cower, you know? So I've had emotional releases in my shoulders as well too, but you need to, like, and I also forgot to mention that slide, choose wisely, do your research. You know, again, you have an amazing community. You have JB and Rebecca. I hope you guys know you have me, but choose wisely, truly. A good body worker who can claim that title, they're doing their own healing work and they're constantly learning and constantly connecting with other people to really be able to hold that sacred space, to be that facilitator and conduit of healing. So I know Claudine mentioned in the chat that
Right.
she had a massage and it creeped her out, you know, so it's tough. You know, not everyone has that skill set yet to hold that space.
And definitely on top of that, like we had a wonderful teacher that that taught us very in depth about the muscle and understanding trauma, and she's
Oh, I'm glad.
for so long. But again, me not kind of putting the pieces together at the time, I was kind of activating certain triggers with certain, I guess, students when we're doing the trade. And she came up, took me to the side and say, "Stop that. You're not a psychologist. Stop that. You're not so-and-so, whatever kind of profession." It's like, really? Like, I'm just not really realizing I was kind of channeling their inner child or their inner spiritual guide, that the message that were coming to me, and I didn't know at the time to filter, hold on to it so I could tune myself to do the proper touch or do the proper movement, or do I relay the message? And I was just kind of just being open flow, just letting it out, as my wife will say,
Yeah.
and kind of whatever came through. And so I understand the perception of my instructor about I'm not this or that, but at the same time, I understand my own truth that, okay, now I need to understand, okay, is this for me to tune up, to adjust, to give the proper touch or message?
Yeah.
Here's a seed. When you're ready to make that sprout to do whatever form of healing or replace a traumatic memory, pull that weed and plant this healthier perception of self-love. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a different place.
Yeah.
It's a fine line. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm sad that she said stop that, you know, like clearly it sounds like she didn't realize she had an intuitive on her hand. And that's like, you know, it sounds like you're intuitively emotionally empathic and psychic, you know, so I could see how if she didn't have that, you know, to say that. But yeah, it's a fine line, you know, to communicate the messages. But no, we're not psychologists, but hi, we work with somatics. What is somatic psychology? You know, like we're working with the body, and to be able to understand, like, oh yeah, this is what's going on in here. So of course my client had an emotional release on the table. Yes. So yeah, it's tough. It's a fine line we have to walk, and knowing our scope of practice, but definitely, yeah. Sorry, I could go on a diatribe about that, but
Yeah. No,
sorry
but
to hear that happen.
yeah, I wanted to emphasize that too, because I saw that message that she had tried massage and it freaked her out. Yeah, you know, you have to learn how to choose wisely. It's like I'm always telling our clients, the minute you feel uncomfortable, say something. Please do not stay quiet. You need to
Because
speak
that's
up.
traumatizing.
That's traumatizing there
Yep.
alone. And
Mhm.
I could in and I've been taught to be so in tune that the minute I could see when someone's resisting my touch, like they're not comfortable, I'll stop and I'll be like, what, how can I make this better for you? I could tell you're not comfortable. What do we need to do to make you comfortable again? And it's like, oh, it's just that it's a little ticklish, but they're not saying that, I'm just seeing them like, and it's like, okay, something's wrong.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, I'm just ticklish. And then I explain to them, I'm like, did you know that that's a normal symptom of your muscle? When you have
Yeah.
really tight muscles, your muscles will be ticklish and itchy. So do you scratch your back a lot? And then I start having that conversation and they're like, yeah. I'm all like, you have really, really tight muscles. So let's do some breathing. Let's figure out which touch I can do, which will not trigger that ticklish or, the itchy sensation. So let's figure something out. And as we do that, we're able to calm the system down again. And now the client is having a very successful, comfortable session where they feel like, okay, now you got in there. And so, yeah, it's not a lot of therapists are trained to be that in tuned. We're trained to kind of do certain movements. We're trained on how to work on the body. But when it really comes to being in tuned with the body, that's not really, done in regular massage school. It's more in advanced work where you start learning those techniques and realize
Yeah.
the importance of being in tuned with your client's body.
And present. Yeah. I think that what plagues massage therapy is this spa environment. Unfortunately, and I know JB, or at least I know Rebecca, like we all started in spa. Like, unfortunately, in a spa environment, when you are cranking through clients, because we have this pressure to be on time, you're probably looking at the clock more. You're probably, you figured out your massage flow and then you can check out because you're burnt out, you're tired. So there's so many elements that can go into a therapist not being as present and in tune with the client's body and the session. And I love what you said about being so in tune. And I think about the client experience and breakthrough you had with the woman that you worked with and was able to talk out loud about the trauma of the bathroom and her husband, and the fact that she said, well, JB, I just need you at my feet, please. And the fact that JB could do that and he stayed at the feet and Rebecca moved. Like, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful when you validate a person's experience during a session. Like what you said, you stop. I noticed you're feeling ticklish. Let's talk about it. You're validating them in real time and you're letting them know this is normal. This is okay. How can I support you? That is such a deeply healing experience. Again, you were that empathetic witness. We all need a witness. And what you said, it requires being present. It requires, as a massage therapist, you're not thinking about dinner tonight, picking up the kids. Like, it can be easy. It can be easy as a body worker when you know your flow and it feels good and clients are happy. It can be easy to check out, but that's when you miss the magic. That's when you miss the healing potential. That's when you miss, oh wow, they're not breathing here. Oh yeah, and I remember I read that book and they talked about fear. Okay, let's just hang out there a little bit longer. So I love that, Rebecca. So beautiful.
Yeah, you're right, Claudine. Not everyone is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Just like teachers, like in our teaching system, you have good teachers and you have bad teachers. Same
Yeah,
thing in
totally.
everything therapy. You have good massage therapists and really bad ones. Believe me, we know too.
Oh my gosh, we do, definitely. And that's right. Yeah. And that concept of so many people just, oh, I don't want to say anything. That's where in my intake, I put my hands over heart center and say, you do not hurt my feelings. When you communicate, you don't like it. It's not too much pressure. It's too little pressure. Can you not be in that area? Like, just me saying, you don't hurt my feelings, please talk to me. I get so much more feedback, like, oh yeah, it's a little tender. Like, it's so beautiful. I feel like it puts them in the driver's seat because the average person, I don't want to hurt their feelings. It's your physical body. Like, let's be real. With a massage, you're naked under some sheets, hoping for the best. Like, Yeah, you be empowered. Speak up in any session.
Definitely. We're going to start shifting over to our private session in a moment, but one last
Cool.
message I want to share with everyone. This is why we built the Healers Roundtable. So we gather other healers to help each other heal, be aware of different tools, but we want to offer you a variety of opportunities. It's not like we're going to give you some information, just come see us. No, if you have a therapist that has that kind of ego, then there might be at a step that time. Step away, consider another therapist or another healer.
Wow.
Or maybe check in with them later, see if they're not in that place anymore. But I'm the one that's going to help you heal, or I got the tools, or I could do it for you. No,
Yeah.
only you could do it for yourself. All we could do as healers is provide that safe space for you to process whether it's the 4 steps we follow, or 3 steps CC follows, or the 9th step Patty follows, or Teresa, how many steps do you do for the healing trauma? Like whatever steps you do.
Oh my gosh, I do. Yeah, I would say like probably like similar to what you guys, all the steps you were, I was like, yes, yes, and yes. So yeah, I would say I vibe with your guys' steps. I'm still feeling into my program.
Yeah.
Correct. Again, like I said,
Yeah.
and then we've had people we worked on, and they're curious about our other healers and say, go for it. If that you meet when they're after your first session or your interview, that's the type of person you want to be considered as your safe space or healer practitioner to deal with. That's a final recommendation before we now going to stop the live. And thank you for joining us. The Zoom link is in the chat box if you want to come to this private session and share or have questions. And stay healthy and remember to breathe intentionally.